It might surprise you, but when America's founding fathers wrote the Constitution, they didn't include anything about what makes someone a U.S. citizen. They generally followed the same rules that their old mother country, Great Britain, had at the time. That meant if someone was born on the land, then that person became a citizen. But there were exceptions.
Dred Scott basically held that blacks were not intended to be U.S. citizens.
That's Carol Nakanoff, a political science professor at Swarthmore College. She's talking about a famous 1857 Supreme Court case when a black man who was born into slavery sued for his freedom and lost. The court ruled he couldn't sue because he wasn't a citizen, and that basically it was up to each state to decide who was and was not a citizen. It wasn't until after the Civil War ended and slavery was abolished, almost 10 years after the Dred Scott decision, that the federal government finally spelled out what it means to be a citizen of the United States.
The first section of the 14th Amendment, which was ratified in 1868, says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside.
From then on, with few exceptions, anyone born in the country, regardless of race, would be viewed as a citizen. But that only covered one route to citizenship. There was also the question of naturalization.
Settler nations were happy to have immigrants and treat them as citizens, that is, their children would be citizens, if they were seen as assimilable or like them.
From the beginning, it had generally been pretty easy for white immigrants to apply for citizenship. But then, once anyone born in the U.S. was guaranteed citizenship, it wasn't long before the country passed its first law restricting immigration from certain places.
It began in 1875 with the passage of the Page Act that basically treated all Chinese women coming to the United States on their own as prostitutes.
After that, the federal government continued to make laws policing who was and was not welcome to start a new life, have kids, and settle in the U.S.
From 1921 until 1965, the restrictions were really designed to not only keep America white, but to keep Southern and Eastern European, often agricultural immigrants out, lower income, lower education, Jews, etc.
It had gotten to a point where the U.S. was very carefully controlling how many people from each country could immigrate. Overall, immigration declined. But then, in 1965, the government passed a law that protected people seeking visas from discrimination based on race, sex, or nationality. That changed everything. Since then, the U.S. has become increasingly diverse. My own grandparents immigrated from Egypt in 1973, and I have a friend who immigrated and became a citizen recently.
What I remember most is waiting.
That's Ali Abdel Mohsen. He was a reporter and artist in Egypt before he relocated to the States with his American wife.
One of the frustrating things about the wait is you can't make any changes in life that would affect your status or anything written in the application.
That means you can't move apartments or get a new job. But he says, overall, it was easier than he expected it to be.
They ask very simple questions.
He thought they might want to look through old photos and emails for proof that he and his wife were in a real, substantial relationship. And once they were in the States, he even thought someone might show up at his door. But none of that happened.
Ironically, I thought it would take less time, but be a lot more difficult and a lot more invasive.
It was a total of 4 years between the time Ali applied for his visa to immigrate and when he went in to pledge allegiance as a new citizen of the United States. In the end, he said he thought his case was actually pretty straightforward.
Part of it is your personal situation, but I also think a huge part of it is what's going on in the world at that time.
He's right. Most recently, in 2017, President Trump banned travel for people from 7 predominantly Muslim countries, even just to visit. The Trump administration has made a lot of changes restricting immigration, and they've also made it harder for immigrants to naturalize. Wait times have gone up, and the fees have nearly doubled in the past 10 years. But the one thing that would be very hard for any administration to change is birthright citizenship. Here's Professor Nakanoff again.
It's not even probable that Congress could change the rule on birthright citizenship. We believe it most likely would require a constitutional amendment.
Which means if you're born here, it would be pretty hard for someone to take that away. As for naturalization, it really depends on who's in charge. For Philosophy Talk, I'm Shireen Adel.